The slave narratives, recorded in the early 1900s, are a treasure trove of first-hand accounts that illuminate traditional hoodoo, conjure, and Black American spiritual practices. These narratives, spoken directly by our ancestors, provide insight into a cultural heritage that is endured through generations. Patsy Moses' story, extracted from these compelling narratives, offer a unique glimpse into her life and the teachings she received from her grandfather, a hard-shell Baptist preacher, deeply rooted in spiritual traditions. Her story showcases how even with being indoctrinated into Christianity, how our ancestors kept our stories and traditions alive. Join us as we uncover these fascinating details about traditional methods of Black spirituality, from conjurers, voodoo doctors, moonlit ceremonies, baptism, and much more. Hey everyone, welcome back to Papa Seer's YouTube channel. If you love diving into captivating stories about hoodoo history, Black American spirituality, and so much more, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so you'll be the first to know whenever I post a new video. Patsy Moses was born a slave to the Armstrong family in Fort Bend County, Texas, around the year 1863. David and Thomas Armstrong were brothers who relocated to Texas from Tennessee in the 1850s. Their relocation was strategic due to the Civil War and talks of slaveholding reformation, and it was believed that slavery would never be abolished in Texas. Texas, being a large landmass, rich in resources, proved profitable for many plantation owners at this time. Fort Bend County specifically quickly developed into a plantation-based economy, with cotton and sugar being two of its main exports. Although Fort Bend County was relatively small, it was one of the 6 majority Black counties in Texas, with a Black population twice the size of its local white residents, most of whom were enslaved. Free Blacks were extremely small in number due to the state of Texas refusing entry to freed Blacks. It is presumed Patsy Moses and her family were owned by Thomas Armstrong, a Confederate veteran who owned 1,100 acres of land and 9 slaves. Thomas was an upper-middle-class landowner who at the time of his death owned 9 Negroes valued at $4,000, $20 cash on hand, $4,000 in Confederate money, and over $17,000 in livestock, roughly $500,000 in today's economy. Little is known about Patsy. The bulk of the information we have about her is from her interview in 1937 in the town of Mart, Texas, a town of about 2,500 people located in East Central Texas. This interview is found in the book Slave Narratives, a folk history of slavery in the United States from interviews with former slaves, volume 16, The Texas Narratives. Patsy Moses was deeply influenced by her grandfather, whom she described as a hard-shell Baptist preacher who not only imparted strict religious teachings, but also a rich tradition of conjure, herbalism, and Black American spiritual practices. Patsy's grandfather, unable to fight in the Civil War due to his age, dedicated himself to the spiritual and practical upbringing of his 20 grandchildren. He baptized Patsy, making her the first grandchild to undergo this significant religious rite. First, I heard him tell about the candidates for baptism, rolling on the ground all night, fasting and praying to help to come through to be converted. When people got religion, we called it come through. When they did this until they were so weak they could hardly talk, then God and his angels were believed to have shown themselves to the sinner, talk to him, and forgive him. This was what they call the vision seeing stage. If a candidate choked when he was being baptized, no matter how cold the water was, then he didn't receive religion. Patsy's grandfather told her about the revival meeting that happened when the stars fell. The night the stars fell is a regional southern term for a very bright display of the Leonid meteor shower that started around 11 p.m. on November 12, 1833, and lasted until dawn. Many believed it to be the end with fire and brimstone. I remember him telling about the revival meeting when the stars fell, when he was just starting to preach. He held one of his first big meetings, and the young folks didn't pay much attention to him. You see, he was trying to get them to come to the mourner's bench and give their hearts to the Lord. They had been preaching, praying, and singing until they were almost ready to quit, and still they wouldn't come. He was telling them about the fire and brimstone coming down from heaven to destroy them, when all of a sudden it got dark, and pretty soon a star shot out like a rocket. Then another, and another, and then it looked like the whole of the heavenly stars were going to come down. Then the sinners and the church members both came as fast as they could to get there and fell on their knees crying and praying. Along with baptism, communal foot washing to show humility, and dream interpretations were important aspects of Black American spirituality. Now, the dream of falling shows a need for praying more, and if a Christian does wrong, he will dream the devil is after him. To dream of clear water lets you know that you are on the right side of God. To dream of an angel is a sign of good luck. He's coming for you. But if he's going away from you, it is a sign for the person to see and for him to reform. This blend of religious and mystical teachings provided Patsy with a unique perspective. Her grandfather was aware of his congregation's engagement with conjurmen. These conjurmen and voodoo doctors, who according to Patsy were not the same, held significant influence, conducting secret rituals that included chanting, dancing, and the use of mysterious voodoo kettles. This kettle was rumored to contain a variety of ingredients such as snakes, spiders, and human blood, although its true contents were never confirmed. Oh yes, now the old voodoo and conjure doctors were the ones that had the most power, it seemed, over Black folks in those days and the days after they were freed. Sometimes they would have a meeting place in secret when they would come to get him to work evil charms on their enemies. Sometimes the old doctor would hold ceremonies at night on the square after midnight. Folks would all come. It would be dark of the moon, and the old doctor would come out and wave his arms, and the folks would all crowd up and close. Those involved in voodoo would strip to the waist. The doctor would hold up his hands, and they would commence to dance while the drums beat. They danced faster and faster. They chanted and prayed until they fell down in a heap. She also was told about the old conjure doctor before the war, whose name was Old Dr. Jones, who was renowned for his medicine. He would treat smallpox with poke root, treat mumps with the rind of bacon, treat whooping cough with sheep wool, and for snake bites, he would mix aluminum, saltpeter, and bluestone with brandy or the best whiskey. To break conjure spells, he would have you drink broth. He could tell fortunes and talk with the departed ancestors. The conjure doctor, Old Dr. Jones, walked about in a black coat like a preacher. He wore sideburns and used roots and such for his medicine. He learned about them in the piney woods from his old granny. He didn't cast spells like the voodoo doctor. To break the conjure spells, he would give them broth to drink. You know, he could tell fortunes and talk with those who had gone to heaven. Now, he charged a small fee, maybe 50 cents, but that time passed with freedom, though the luck charm stayed with the Black folks. As a matter of fact, most of them still wear them today, especially those who were living in the days of slavery. If you look around their necks, I expect you'll find a luck charm or two. I learned all these spells from my daddy and my mammy and the old folks, and most of these things work if you try them. Although Patsy was raised by a grandfather with very strict religious views, The knowledge he imparted into her about the traditional practices of Black Americans during and after the era of slavery initiated her as a torchbearer of information significant to Black American culture, enabling her to be utilized as a resource of anthropology, which is evident in her interview. Patsy Moses represents how important it is to pass down cultural information, traditions, customs, and stories. Although she was not a practitioner of the esoteric arts, she is nonetheless important. Her interview is the reason why we have some of the lost information about our heritage and traditions, and also the inspiration for this video. Thanks for watching. If you found the story of Patsy Moses as fascinating as I did, give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I'd love to hear your thoughts about Patsy Moses or other significant figures in your own area. So let's get the conversation started by leaving a comment in the section below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more intriguing stories about Black American spirituality and Hoodoo history. And I'll see you in the next video.